Howdy, howdy, howdy do, Who fans. Welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name is Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is episode 269.
Oh, yes.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy, howdy, howdy do, Doctor Who fans. I hope you've all had a cracking week and that you're safe and healthy and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. Something Doctor Who related, eh?
Yeah.
Read a book, or if you've watched a DVD.
A DVD.
Or a Blu-ray. Oh, dude, I was miffed last night.
How come?
Yeah, I was that miffed I even went to Twitter about it.
Oh, was it about the menus taking forever to load?
As you do. When you're miffed, you go to social, don't you? But yeah. So last night I was like, right, I need to watch the final couple of parts for the Ultimate Foe. So I thought, well, I'm going to get the box set out because it's lovely and everything, and the advantages of that with like the picture quality and audio and all that stuff. Yeah, loving it. And every time I pick one of those box sets up, I always have the same thing. And that is, it takes a bloody long time from when you first put the disc in to when you actually, the intro starts when you play it. So am I the only one that thinks that? I don't think so, because a load of people liked it and stuff, but it just seems there's an awful lot of faff before you actually get to even the menu to select the episode. So I think there's two rounds of, because I think on this one, I don't know if they've done it with the other Doctors, but on this one, you've got Colin saying, Doctor Who, season 23. And then, so you go through that. And then there's the BBC ident with all these little pins in a circle, which is nice. And then you've got...
To select audio navigation.
Navigation.
Press enter now.
That's it, yeah. You've got Colin saying that. And then you've got another ident. It's the Doctor Who trailer. Which, they released it when Jodie was coming out.
Yeah.
The little gold triangle crystal things in the
fiery
asteroids.
Thing,
yeah. And then you've got that. And then the screen just goes blank for about 10 seconds and you think, oh, okay, something's happening. And then you finally get the menu and stuff. But compared to when you used to stick, like other Blu-rays, and the old Doctor Who DVDs and stuff, you stick them in, within like 30 seconds, you're up and running. You only got the To Entertain logo that pops up.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got audio navigation, and then you're into the menu. These bloody Blu-rays, I love them. Don't get me wrong. I love them. I really do. And it's first world problems. I completely get that. But it's just, for frick's sake, I just want to watch The Ultimate Foe.
You've already waited 10 minutes just to get it on. I don't know which set it is. It's not this one. I think it's the McCoy set where the TARDIS hum. It's probably the TV. It's probably the speakers on TV, but the TARDIS hum is just really distorted on that one. But I think it's our speakers. It just can't handle that particular pitch of hum our TV. It sounds dreadful.
The resonance from the speakers. Yeah,
it really, really vibrates. So I have to always turn it right down.
Well, I was going to say that trailer that we mentioned, with the little, is it orange or little red crystals and the asteroids?
Oh, you're asking the wrong person there. Yeah, I'm colourblind.
Oh gosh,
it's green, isn't it?
It sounds like someone doing a bit of a trouser cough when because there's a bit where the audio, it's only about 5 seconds, I think, but as the audio builds up, and then the last note, as one of those little things sort of whizzes through the logo, is like.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. Never going to look at that the same way again.
Yeah, anyone that's not clocked yet, just watch the little. I think it's only about 8 seconds, really. Yeah, it's like the Doctor Who theme, but it's like in a sort of echoey, reverberated kind of deep sort of bassy sound.
Yeah,
it's very funny. Anyway, so yeah, I was miffed last night, dude, but I got through it, and yeah, we'll come on to our review a bit later. But yeah, you been up to anything Doctor Who related, Bod? Are we only recording on Friday, so this is only a few days for us.
I was going to say, yeah, because I've done a few things in between when we record, but we're already recording a few days later, and I haven't been up to a lot actually for once. The weather's been absolutely cracking here, and as anybody who lives in the UK will tell you, we don't normally get that big ball of fire in the sky very often here in the UK. So I have been outside a lot. I haven't really sort of been indoors doing, watching DVDs and things. In fact, the only thing I have been watching, I've been a bit of a traitor actually. It's not been Doctor Who. I finally downloaded the trial of not the trial, but the Disney Plus 7-day trial, not Trial of Time Lord. And so I've been blitzing my way through Mandalorian, very late to the party, I know, but I've finally been watching that. So to be honest, that's the only thing I've been really watching, because it's been too hot to be indoors. There is a TV movie, the McGann TV movie. There is a watch along tonight, because we're recording this on a Wednesday, so it would have happened by the time the podcast goes out. And I'll probably join in that, because although it's a tweet along, I'll probably put that on, because I haven't watched it in ages, and it is one I like. I know it's got its faults, TV movie, but I've always quite liked it. So I'm probably going to join in the tweet along for that tonight. I really, really want our good friend Liv from the Who Addicts to watch it, because she's only watched it once, and she hates it. And I just get this feeling that she might even. I don't expect her to like do a total 360. I don't think she's going to ever love that one, but I feel like she might like it more on a second watch, because I think the first time you watch something, sometimes if it just, because it is American, I don't think she likes the fact it's very Americanized and that sort of thing.
Right.
But I think she might enjoy it more. So I'm desperate for her to watch it tonight, but she's refusing. But I don't know. You like the TV movie as well, don't you? I remember when we reviewed it, we both said it was flawed, but it had some really nice stuff going on in it, and like McGann and all that sort of thing, and Daphne and.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we're fans of the TV movie. It's not Doctor Who's finest hour, let's be honest, but it's certainly got some great stuff in there, and it's very timely for the watch along as well, because as Adam said, we're recording this on Wednesday the 27th, and the Doctor Who movie came out on this day back in 1996, so it's a good day to review it. But I hope Liv does give it a watch. And happy birthday to the Who Addicts, by the way. Our listeners might have heard us mention those guys a few times. A really, really good Doctor Who YouTube channel, and the 7 years, I think, 7 years they've been rocking and rolling for. So
7 years. As we were mentioning birthdays, we ought to say happy birthday to our very long fan of the show, Sammy Satine. It's her birthday today as we record, so we'll have already been and gone by the time this podcast goes. But happy birthday, Sammy. Hope you managed to do something Doctor Who related. So there's the TV movie tonight. They are doing, I think Emily Cook's doing a final tweet along this Friday, so the day this goes out, for it's a double whammy. What is it? New Earth and Gridlock, I think.
That's the penultimate one. There's one after that.
Yeah. Oh, is there one after? What's the one after?
We don't know yet. You haven't announced it yet. Yeah.
So I must admit, there's two stories that I'm not. I mean, especially New Earth. I've never been a fan of that one. And Gridlock, if I'm in the mood for it, a lot of people love Gridlock, don't they? I think Russell said it's his favourite story he's ever wrote. But I have to be in the mood for Gridlock. I'm not one of I don't love it, but I certainly don't hate it. I do like it, but I don't know. It's not one I gravitate towards often. Gridlock. No,
it's not. I mean, New Earth. I know that we've reviewed that. New Earth. It's not. It's not the best, is it? New Earth. Let's be honest. Is that?
I don't think it's dated very well at all. New Earth.
Yeah. Is that episode 1 of Tennant's run? New Earth. Yeah. Yeah, we did that way back, episode 45, and then Gridlock. We've done that as well. Why has that got an asterisk to it? That's because we've done. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did a review and then we did it together afterwards. Yeah. So, but that's on Saturday, dude. So Saturday the 30th of May.
Is it Saturday? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, New Earth at 7, Gridlock at 8, and Russell T Davies is on Twitter for those.
I was going to say, even though I'm not a particular fan of those episodes, I think having Russell involved, and I think he's done something else, hasn't he? Hasn't he done something special to release after it, which is always worth tuning in for, because his little treats that he's given us in lockdown have been amazing, haven't they? Like the Sarah Jane ending that he gave us, and what was the other thing he did? I don't know, something else that was really good. The last page that was about the Time War and stuff like that. So we've had some real good nuggets from Russell.
We have
since lockdown. So yeah, it'd be worth tuning into that one, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah. Apart from that, the other thing I've done is something I've been wanting to do for ages. So all my lovely Doctor Who Target books were in this box in the bedroom, just in a box, and it was really bugging me because I love the covers to these books, and I just wanted to set them free. I wanted them on a shelf, but I just didn't have anywhere to put them. Anyway, finally, with all this spare time on my hands, I was like trying to find a place, and I thought, if I move this stuff from this shelf, and you know what you do, you just move. So basically what I've done is I've put all my Target books on a shelf in the front room, and I've moved all the stuff that was on the shelf into the box. I just swapped them round, but it's good to have a change. And I'm trying to think what rubbish was even on that shelf, but I don't know, something about having my Target books finally on a shelf, mate. It's just very satisfying. I know it's very sad, but it's just, I sit in the front room and I just keep looking up at them, and they've all gone a bit brown and dusty and whatever over the years, but I just love the Doctor Who Target books, and I sit there and I just go through looking at the covers, and especially the William Hartnell one, the first Doctor ones. They have little drawings inside, which they seem to drop after a while. But I love that. I love that you can sort of go 30 pages and suddenly a random picture will, illustration will pop up. So that's the only other thing I've done really, Doctor Who related.
I love the old Target books.
Oh, they're really brilliant, I'll tell you. Yeah. I thought I had more. I'm thinking that I reckon I've got another box somewhere. I'm sure I've got more than I found. But yeah, so that's been me. What about you, Bud? What have you been up to?
Nothing much, Bud, since we last
Have you got any Target books?
Yeah, I've got about a dozen.
Yeah.
Of those.
You remember your charity shop find? Remember when you found that shop? Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I think I bought about 4 or 5 in one go there, and I've picked up a couple here and there when I've been in various shops and stuff. I've read most of them as well, which is good. It's not been the usual, I'll buy that book because it looks good and then sits on the shelf. I've actually read most of them. There was one that I haven't read. I think it was one of the re-releases. Was it City of Death?
James Goss? Yeah,
I think that one I've got to read. And there's another 1 or 2 that I picked up at the end of last year that I need to read as well. But yeah, sucker for the old Target books, dude. Love them.
Mm-hmm. Just the covers. Beautiful.
Yeah. So I haven't really done much, dude. I've only watched The Ultimate Foe and stuff.
Did you get a chance to watch any of the extras on The Ultimate Foe? Because that was one thing I made sure I did for this one, because I know that there was so much going on behind the scenes. So many things that contributed to the end of this Trial of a Time Lord season that I made sure I watched a couple of docs.
So I didn't watch all of them. I have watched a couple. So I watched the location footage stuff that was quite nice.
Yeah.
There's also really funny. I didn't realise they ever did this, but back in the day, you remember when French and Saunders? They used to be a really good sort of double act. They haven't done anything for a few years, but they did this really funny kind of spoof of it where they filmed in the same set as the trial room and stuff. So that was really funny. Yeah. It's only about 10 minutes, 15 minutes long, but not even that. And and that's really cool. I watched the Matthew Sweet interview, so in conversation with Bonnie Langford.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's really cool. She's lovely in that. She's really lovely.
She is so lovely, actually. She's one of the nicest people from who I've ever met in terms of just genuine warmth and friendliness, Bonnie. She's absolutely lovely.
Yeah, she's really nice. And the other thing was just this really short, there was a program that used to be on BBC Two called Tomorrow's World. I think it was BBC Two.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that.
Might even still be on. No, maybe not. I don't know.
Sure.
And there was a Christmas special that went out, and it was like a Christmas quiz sort of variant of it. And Colin Baker was on that. And that was the final time he ever appeared in costume in his Doctor Who outfit on TV. A lot of people think it's the last bit in the show. But it's not. He went on Tomorrow's World a little while afterwards in his costume, which is surprising, really, considering how he was treated, which we'll get onto. But the only ones I've got to watch left, which I really want to. I mean, there's quite a few, but there's a few that I really need to watch. So I haven't watched the Behind the Sofa yet, and I haven't watched the cool making of that they put together for it. So I really those two.
Really recommend the making of it. It's brilliant. It's just fascinating. Pip and Jane are on it being interviewed. I just love those two together. You know, they just remind me of like sort of a nan and Gramp. I don't know. There's just something very, very natural about them. I like them. And Eric Saywood's on there, just being all Eric Saywoody and saying. Getting how he got in a strop, and I'll talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff when we get to the review. But it's fascinating. I think there's something on there called Trials and Tribulations as well, or something.
Yes, there
which
is,
talks about Colin's pretty much his whole era of how it was going to start, what happened in between the hiatus, and why it was cancelled and brought back. And that's a great documentary as well.
Yeah, so those I've got to watch.
Yeah, they're brilliant. Really good.
Yeah, but I wanted to watch them all together, if that makes sense. I wanted to have like a chunk of time because I think those three things, not so much Behind the Sofa, but the making of and Trials and Tribulations and stuff, they really get into the meat of the situation, don't they? So I want to save them to watch together.
Yeah, no, they definitely do. You're going to really enjoy those. But they really give you a good insight into the nightmare behind the scenes antics going on.
Yes. I think I might have watched something though, because I remember watching the special features on the DVDs when I picked those up years back. Is it a different making of, or is it the same?
No, it's the same.
Oh, I've seen it then. I've seen it.
Yeah, because I remember it from the original DVD release.
Right,
it's the same.
Right. Yes, I've seen that then. Yeah. Well, I'll watch it again though, as you do.
As you do. Yeah, it's well worth watching again.
Yes. Right, before we crack on with the rest of the show, we have no news this week, by the way. It's just merch. Still, as expected, very light on the old news, but we have got a very Big Finish orientated news to go through, and then we're on to our review of the final part, Trial of a Time Lord, the ultimate foe. But before we get cracking with that, remember to subscribe to our show on whatever podcast app you listen to podcasts on, or just head over to bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of the previous shows on there, and there are links to go off to all of those podcast apps and networks. We're on the socials as well, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Again, links on the website, or just do a search for us there. You'll find us on there. We chat Doctor Who each week, so come and jump on there. We have a Discord server as well. I spent a bit of time on there with some people this morning, hanging out, talking about these tweet-alongs and watch-alongs and what story we think is going to be the last one and all that stuff. And people have been posting pictures of their collections and stuff on there. It's very cool place to come and hang out. So there's a link on the website for the Discord server, which is free. And if you like what we do here, just lastly, if you've got a minute and you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts or whatever, that would be awesome, because that helps us out lots and lots. Interesting little thing that I had through from one of our listeners, Dan Hickey. Before we get cracking, to anyone that's after the season 19 box set. So Dan got in contact to say that he ordered the season 19 box set when it was released, but it never turned up, and there were some problems with stock, and he ordered it elsewhere. Anyway, he got that delivered, and then a couple of months later his original copy that he ordered turned up as well. So now he's got two copies, and he's asking on recommendations where to sell it to. He's being very, very genuine about this. A lot of people, when they pick up these Blu-ray box sets, they pick them up either intentionally to sell for a lot more later or whatever. He's not doing that. He's basically saying, look, I want it to go to a nice home, a proper Doctor Who fan, especially to those people that are trying to build their collection of Blu-ray sets and they maybe didn't get this one for some reason or whatever. And he's only asking for the original price for it as well. He's not marking it up. He's not putting it on eBay for silly money. So if any of our listeners want it, I'm not going to speak for Dan about in terms of where he can deliver it or anything like that. So I'm just going to pass your details on if you're after this from Dan. So if you want the season 19 box set, Dan is selling this. It's brand new. He doesn't want any more extra money for it. So if you want it, just get in contact with us here. Send us a tweet or send us a message on Facebook or email. And if you're after it, I will pass your details on to Dan and he can get in touch and you guys can work that out. But yes, Dan is selling the season 19 box set. So yeah, that's kind of cool if you're looking to either start your collection, if this is going to be a good one, if you thought, I want to start these Blu-ray box sets, but you can't get them at the moment. Or like I said, if this is a gap in your collection. So yeah, hit us up if you want that from Dan. Right, moving on. Let's do some merch. Let's see what old Grumpy's got.
Yeah, get him in. Wheel him in.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Well, there you are, young man. What do you think of that now, eh? A Viking helmet.
I know, it's on the telly. It's everywhere.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
Try work in a shop now, it'd help.
Right, Big Finish. We've got loads of Big Finish. Well, not loads, but some big stories to cover from those guys. They've dropped a couple of bombs over the past week. Yeah, so the first thing is that for the next year and a half, they're going to run with the normal schedule that they've been that they have done for years now, which is the Doctor Who, what's known as the Doctor Who monthly range. But from January 2022, they're going to stop that and they're going to relaunch the schedule with dedicated series ranges for each Doctor instead of just alternating between Doctors as they go through the month-by-month releases. So they are, from what it sounds like, they've had loads of feedback, it seems, over the past however many months or years that that a lot of listeners find it quite difficult to jump into Big Finish. I mean, we get this question an awful lot.
Yeah.
So ever since we've been doing the podcast, pretty much, we always get tweets or Facebook messages or even recently on the Discord server, people have said, I've not listened to Big Finish before, or I've not listened to it for a year or so, whatever. I have no idea where to jump in. Where do I start? Do I start on this number in the monthly range? Do I get number, I don't know, 125 and go from there? Or do I pick up one of the box sets from the Doctors, whatever? Nobody really, it's quite difficult to say. I mean, there's the odd story that you can say, yeah, pick up that one, it's a belter, or that one, or that box set. But if someone says, I want to start on the monthly range, where do I start with that? You know, it's a bit of a tricky question. So I think they've, with a view to sort of address that, they're just going to do away with, you know, the monthly thing and the Doctors. And all they're going to do now is just going to say, right, they're just going to say, this is the 7th Doctor Adventures, and it's going to be a dedicated range for that Doctor, and that might run alongside the dedicated range for another Doctor and this Doctor, so you don't get this kind of intertwining between Doctors in each month, which is pretty cool. So there's some blurb on this that they've put out. So for more than 2 decades now, Big Finish have been producing new Doctor Who audio adventures, starring actors who originated in the role, so Tom, Peter, Colin Baker, McCoy, McGann, Davison and John Hurt. In recent years, many new ranges have been introduced to the release schedule, incorporating all of the Doctor's eras from 63 to 2017. As the company looks to the future, a revised schedule will see a number of new range additions. So one of the senior producers, David Richardson, said, there are so many exciting new directions ahead. Where did the first Doctor and Dodo go after leaving the planet of the Savages? It's a very good question.
Yeah.
Yep. What happened to the second Doctor after the War Games?
Oh, we're going there, are they?
We are going there, yep. Well, maybe. What new adventures await the Third Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith? What happened to the Seventh Doctor's last day? The adventures are only just beginning.
They love filling those gaps, don't they?
They do. And then the chairman of Big Finish, Jason Hay-Ellery, said, one comment we hear more often from new listeners is that they find it hard to know where to begin with our back catalogue of Doctor Who adventures. This change to our release schedule will make it easier for people to start with a range for each Doctor. There will be a natural stepping on point for fans, which is very cool. And then old Nick Briggs, the creative director, old Nick, says, as well as making our ranges much less confusing for Big Finish beginners, these changes will allow us more exciting possibilities and creative freedom. By freeing the 5th, 6th and 7th Doctors from the constrictions of the monthly adventure schedule and giving them their own distinct ranges, we will be able to introduce more surprising cast combinations, different story length and more story arcs, which is very cool.
Yeah.
That does make sense, doesn't it?
It does. I must admit, I think this is a good step forward for them. I mean, they've been going for quite a while now. It's good to freshen things up. So I think this is a definite step in a good direction. I think. I mean, their output is incredible. I buy a lot of Big Finish, but I'm finding it quite hard to keep up with all the different ranges. And I think, I think it's good to sort of, hopefully they'll be simplifying things. Literally yesterday, somebody who I chat to on a regular basis, Doctor Who fan, messaged me and asked, I don't really know much Big Finish. Can you recommend some? It is a question you get asked all the time. And it's sometimes hard to answer because there are certain ones that spring to mind, Chimes of Midnight, Dalek, and, stuff like that. But a lot of them do have an arc. And I do struggle sometimes to think, because I was going to say, Dark Eyes is good. And I thought, no, because you need to listen to some of the earlier 8th Doctor before you do that. And, so sometimes it is hard to just jump in there. But it's a good move. I think it's the right move for them at this point.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So next in the Big Finish news, something very cool coming out in January 2021. So this is to mark the 50th anniversary of the first appearance of the Master, with a brilliant sounding box set called Masterful. It's got so many Doctors on the front of this cover. It's amazing. Well, actually, it depends which you go for. So there's going to be a limited edition CD set, which is going to be $44.99, and that's got Derek Jacobi. That's got Roger Delgado very prominently on the front. But if you go for the standard edition, he's strangely missing, and you've got Sim taking centre stage. But Derek Jacobi is on there, Miss is on there, Mark Gatiss is on there, Eric Roberts, you've got Anthony Ainley all on the cover. Obviously, Anthony Ainley won't be involved, sadly, because he's no longer with us. So I don't know whether they're going to revoice them or what they're going to do. But just to give you a bit of blurb, it says, the Master's finally done it. He's won. He summons his other selves to celebrate, to a celebration of his ultimate victory, and they come from across time and dimensions. But he's forgotten to invite someone, and Miss is not happy. This sounds great already, doesn't it? Has the Master really conquered the universe, or has something more awful been unleashed, something that even the Master cannot stop? Missy is determined to reveal the truth, because one fact about the Master's existence never changes. No one can trust the Master, not even the Master. So this does sound like a really fun concept. It's going to be good. So I know it seems a long way off, January 2021, but I think for me it's got to be the limited edition. I think it's a bit pricey, but you do get a bit of an extra content. So in the limited one, assuming it'll come in their sort of book size set, I don't know, it's limited to 3,000 copies. You get discs 1 to 3 on the Masterful story itself. Disc 4 is a behind the scenes disc. Then disc 5, you've got some short trips featuring the Master, obviously. And discs 6 to 8, you're getting Doctor Who Terror of the Master by Trevor Baxdale, a brand new narrated audiobook featuring the Third Doctor, the Master and Unit. So that's all on the limited version. And I'm guessing the standard will just be the 3 CDs of the story itself, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that sounds good, though, that Third Doctor, Master and Unit story.
It does. I mean, I know it's a bit pricey, 45 quid. but I think it's got to be the limited for me. I think this, just to get the special packaging and the extra content and stuff. I must admit, with Big Finish, I don't know about you, but because they take the money the day that you order it, I often hold off and order it closer to the release date. Sometimes I get a bit edgy when they're limited editions. I think, I want to make sure I get it. So yeah, I'm not quite sure when I'll order this, but probably won't leave it that late. But yes, I think the limited one for me. Yes.
Yeah.
Eric Roberts, he's back. It's great. It's great to have all these people together, isn't it? John Sim, obviously.
Looks good.
Alex McQueen, mustn't forget him. He's a great master, actually. Alex McQueen.
Yeah. No, he's good. Mark Gatiss is in this as well for a bit.
Yes, right. And there's also a young chap at the front there. I don't know who he is, but I'm guessing he's playing like a young master. And he's got this. What's that outfit from? It looks really familiar.
Yeah, isn't it from the War Games? At the end of.
Yes, I think it is.
So the Time Lords are wearing that at the end of the War Games, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. It just looks really familiar, and I can't quite place it.
That's the third
Jeffrey.
thing. Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Just the first thing that came into my head. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. So yeah, Jeffrey Beavers is what I was going to say, is obviously on there as the Crispy Master as well. Have I missed anyone? No, I think we've got it. So Michelle Gomez, obviously. Yeah, it doesn't say who's going to be playing Anthony Ainley. What do you reckon they'll do? Will they recast him, or will they perhaps take some audio snippets that they've done before? Be interesting to see what they do with that.
Yeah, hard to say, mate.
Great artwork again. Don't know who did it, but great artwork.
Yeah, it doesn't say on this one. Normally on the production credits it tells you, but they haven't put it on there yet.
No. So yes, Masterful, out January 2021.
Yes.
Big Finish. We love stories.
And also, speaking of the Master, there's a new audio story from Big Finish starring Eric Roberts as the Master.
Oh, yes.
Which is coming a bit sooner. So this is coming... Oh, no. Crikey. Coming a bit later. Sorry. So January 2021 is Masterful, the big multi-master story. And then there's a story just called Master, ! Which is coming out in March 2021. And that stars Eric Roberts with Chase Masterton. And the story for this one is abandoned in the vortex. The Master's lost incarnation is about to be thrown a lifeline. Earth rebuilds in the aftermath of invasion and power rests with those who innovate. Genius Leela Krieg makes a deal with the devil to see her dreams fulfilled. As the Master returns, there are those, like Vienna Salvatore, who wish to hunt him, and those upon his wishes vengeance himself. And this is a three-parter. The first one's called Falstein by Robert Valentine. Number 2 is called Prey by Robert Whitlock, and third one is called Vengeance by Matt Fitton. So awesome to see Eric Roberts, dude. And this ties into what we were saying earlier about the TV movie, in that it's not Doctor Who's finest hour, and Eric Roberts is not the best master you've seen by a long shot. However, what is often the case with things that you see in Doctor Who televised, that at the time, or when you rewatch it, you think, that wasn't the best, was it? However, Big Finish have got a really good knack of making them just sound awesome in their audio adventures. We've seen it even with Doctors themselves. Colin Baker, for example, is awesome on Big Finish, even though he's not, often referred to as one of the best Doctors out of the classic era. On Big Finish, he's so good. So Big Finish have got a really good way of making those guys just come to life in a way that you wouldn't think was possible based on their TV performance. So Eric Roberts back in the mix as the Master is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's great actually, and I absolutely totally agree with you there. I think it'll be very interesting to hear him his take on the Master on audio. And like Big Finish do have a great knack of looking at what was good and bad about something and taking all the good stuff and enhancing it. So yeah, I'd definitely be intrigued to hear some more from Eric Roberts as the Master.
Yes.
Interesting stuff.
Yes. And then last bit of news for Big Finish.
This is quite something, isn't it?
This is quite something, yeah. So when's this one coming? Let me get this right this time. Coming this year, this August, we have a brand new story, a multi-Doctor story, starring David Tennant and Tom Baker together in their own story. This is called Doctor Who Out of Time #1. I'm assuming there's going to be more. It doesn't say it on the front cover, but on the Big Finish website, it's Doctor Who Out of Time 1. I'm assuming story 1 or volume 1, whatever. Mm-hmm. But this is awesome, dude. So the story for this one is the Cathedral of Contemplation. It's an enigma existing outside of time. It turns through history, opening its doors across the universe to offer solace to those in need. Occasionally, the Doctor drops in when he's avoiding his destiny. It's an ideal place to get some perspective. Only he's already there several lives earlier. So when dimension barriers break down, his past and present collide. And when the Daleks invade and commandeer the cathedral, 2 Doctors must unite to stop them or face extermination twice over. So this sounds really cool. And I'll tell you, dude, I saw this early this morning on Twitter. The guy that did the cover art for it, Simon Holub, he put this on his Twitter account and it blew up instantly. And dude, this is one of the best covers that I've seen in, not in ages, but this is one of the best covers I've seen in a little while for Big Finish. It just looks stunning. This is a pre-order, dude, right? For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's stunning, isn't it? I like the cover as well. Just Tom over, 10 shoulder like that, and the Daleks and TARDIS and everything. And I think this is one. I know you're not a fan of the logo. I think even the logo works on this, doesn't it? It just looks great. Yeah.
No, it does.
Has he put a clean version of this on his? I'll have to check it out. What's his name?
He has, yeah, Simon Holub.
I'm going to look now. I'm pretty sure I follow him. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I think he has put a clean version.
I like to use it as my screensaver.
One thing that's interesting, though, and I picked this up pretty much straight away because I haven't mentioned this in a while, but last month, I think, I tweeted out that I was doing some Doctor Who artwork that was going to be put out as screensavers, and it might go out as prints as well for people to buy. So I've been doing some research, getting some high-ish res images of each Doctor. And because I was doing that with Capaldi last week, as soon as I saw this cover, it's been done so well. But the left arm of Tom Baker is actually Peter Capaldi's.
Yeah, someone else said that. I didn't. Yeah, that's
the only way. Yeah, the only way that I clocked it is because he's left the white. In the photo shoot for Capaldi, he's wearing a white double cuff shirt, and for some reason that just looked instantly recognizable to me because I was cutting Peter Capaldi out of his background last week, and I remember tracing around that bit of the sleeve and stuff. So it's awesomely done. It's such a lovely cover, and it just looks like action packed as well. Like the Daleks are back. And it's cool that you see each Doctor's TARDIS in the background as well. It's very, very... I can't wait for this, dude. This is going to be awesome.
I was going to say, it's funny you say that as well about the hand, because it's not the first time the Fourth Doctor's had someone else's hands put on him on a cover art, because one of the really old Doctor Who annuals, it's got Tom, but then the 2 hands at the front are Pertwee. So I don't know. I don't even know why they did that. So yeah, it is a great cover. I mean, to get those 2 Doctors together as well, I can just imagine they're really going to bounce off each other. I mean, I assume they didn't record in the same studio. I don't know. Big Finish is so good at putting these together, you won't be able to tell. But it's a definite pre-order. And I think at the minute this is. There's 3 stories available. You can order a bundle of 3 stories. So I don't know what the other 2 are going to be, whether that's going to be 2 more Doctors, different Doctors paired together or whatever, or whether this will be a series that runs and runs, who knows. But it's a definite pre-order. I'm so glad it's coming out this year as well, because a lot of the stuff we've talked about isn't coming out till next year, and it feels so far off. And when you get a release like this, you just want it right now. So I'm glad that's coming out in August. Yeah, really looking forward to this.
It looks awesome, doesn't it? Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it really does.
I just can't get over the cover. The cover's just beautiful. It's one of my fave covers of recent months, I think, from Big Finish.
Yeah. I've just tried to Google that chap, but unfortunately, the only one that came up was Simon Cowell. I'll have a look on your Twitter feed. I'll find the artist so that I can follow him, because I need to do screensaver. I'm trying to find that annual where it was Tom's body and Pertwee's hands. What year was it? Can't find it. Oh, there you go, 1979.
79 was it?
Yeah, because he's got it. Yeah, so anybody who's got the 1979 and you're going to have a look. Tom's body, Pertwee's hands.
Oh yeah, that's of course. Yeah, that's where. Is that the one where it's got? You can see like the ruffle kind of thing.
Yeah, you can still see the ruffled shirts. I think he's wearing a ring as well. Pertwee's ring, and
yeah. I think I think I was trying to figure out what was at the bottom. I think I'm remembering the right cover. I think it's got some characters at the bottom. I think Tom's at the bottom, and it's all kind of like a grey, bluey effect at the bottom, I think. And I was trying to figure out who was at the bottom with him. I could be wrong. It could be the wrong year.
It's a white cover. I can't remember what else is on it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, you're right. It's Pertwee sleeves, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Crikey.
What's wrong with Tom's hands? Why can't we? Why does he always have to have someone else? No, I get it. It's all about composition, isn't it? Yeah.
So there we go. Plenty of Big Finish stuff happening. And fair play to those guys as well, the guys in charge. You know, in these times where they can't get everybody in the studio and they can't function as normal, like, you know, most other companies, they've got to have their finger on the pulse and start thinking of the future and stuff. If they just kind of trundle along as they are, they're going to get left behind with what's going on in the world. So it's really great that they're just, you know, thinking about what's happening now, but also a year, 2 years down the line and in the future. So very, very cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Rightio. That's all Big Finish stuff and the news and merch. It's time for our review. It's time. What we got?
So yes, it's time to wrap up this trial of a Time Lord season that Gary's been enjoying so much with the final story, which is a two-parter this time, called The Ultimate Foe.
By order of the High Council, this is an impartial inquiry into the behavior of the accused person, known as the Doctor, who is charged that he, on divers occasions, has been guilty of conduct unbecoming a Time Lord. He is also charged with, on divers occasions, transgressing the first law. It is my unpleasant task, Madam Inquisitor, to prove to the inquiry that the Doctor is an incorrigible meddler in the affairs of other peoples and planets.
There's something else going on here. I was taken out of time for another reason. And I have every intention of finding out what it is. In my travellings throughout the universe, I have battled against evil, against power-mad conspirators. I should have stayed here. The oldest civilization. Decadent, degenerate, and rotten to the core. Power-mad conspirators, Daleks, Sontarans, Cybermen. They're still in the nursery compared to us. 10 million years of absolute power. That's what it takes to be really corrupt. I have a feeling I am being manipulated. That the evidence is being distorted.
Preposterous! Absolutely preposterous!
Something's going wrong here. I can sense it.
The Baliard overestimates his own cleverness. Like all megalomaniacs, he is consumed with his own vanity. Well, I never thought I'd welcome the sight of you.
There's nothing you can do to prevent the catharsis of spurious morality.
I have control of the Navy. Protect me! I am your lord and master!
What a trailer.
What a trailer indeed. That was our buddy Reese again.
I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm clocking up the solicitor's bills every week. Yeah, what a trailer. Reese, I remember...
Gallifrey 97.
Yeah, I was going to say, Reese's channel, Gallifrey 97, over on YouTube. Go and check out his YouTube channel. So many good trailers. And they often get Reese to do... So when we have these screenings at the BFI in London, they quite often get Reese to do a trailer for them. And they are so good. They really are so good. Very talented guy. So
I got to correct Gallifrey Forever 97. I think that's his full YouTube. There you go. Go and check him out. He's awesome.
Gallifrey Forever. 97. Go and check it out. So thank you very much, Reese. Again, I didn't ask you. Just assumed that you'd be all right with it.
Another scrap in the car park on its way.
Yeah, there we go. I'll get a dig up the ribs next time when this all gets lifted and we're at a convention.
He'll just bottle you.
Yeah, he'll just walk past me and just a quick shot across the face. Oh, God. Anyways, thank you very much, Reese. Right, The Ultimate Foe. As Adam said, a cheeky little two-parter, this one, in the midst of a few four-parters. And this was broadcast originally from the 29th of November to the 6th of December, 1986. It was directed by Chris Clough and was written initially with some work by Robert Holmes, but ultimately finished up and done by Pip and Jane Baker. Overseen by the Squabbling Kids, Eric Saywood and John Nathan Turner.
Yeah, this is the one that broke the camel's back.
I'm in no mood. So, yeah, and the synopsis for this one is, charged with genocide by the treacherous Valeyard, the Doctor gets some help now from Glitz. Is it Blitz or Glitz?
Glitz.
Glitz. From Glitz and Mel to try and get the ruling overturned in his favour. And for the Doctor to try and reveal the Valeyard as the wrongdoer that we know who he is. And an unlikely dude turns up to offer a bit of help, initially anyway. So the Master turns up and reveals to all that the Matrix has actually been compromised. And we get to find out who the Valeyard is as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, shocker.
Yes, and so the Valeyard flees into the Matrix where it all gets a bit weird. And the Doctor... we think the Doctor defeats the Valeyard and the Time Lords, especially the Inquisitor, old Oxo lady Linda. She actually turns out to be very nice to the Doctor in the end. Very smiley and happy, and the Doctor's on his way. And the Ultimate Foe, and there's lots of it's. When I was watching a couple of the extras on this afterwards last night and reading up on it and stuff for some research, I actually found myself a bit down in the dumps afterwards, mate.
Did you?
Yeah, just because there's lots of, mainly around Colin, really, in the way he was treated, and just there's lots of finals and lasts in this one, because we are, as you get up to the end of Series 23, there is... we're coming to the end of the classic era pretty much, aren't we? We're coming to the sort of the latter stages of classic Doctor Who, really. So, and as a result of that, not just Colin, but there's lots of lasts and finals, which we'll come on to. But anyways, The Ultimate Foe, mate. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, so I'm pleased to say, because I have found, a bit like yourself, although I've enjoyed Trial of Time Lord a little bit more than you, I have found it a bit hard going, really. But this is, I think, considering all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes, I think actually this is quite a good conclusion to it. It's certainly got some great stuff going in there. I preferred part one. I really did. Like when I put this on yesterday, I really enjoyed part one. I thought, wow, this is everything's ramping up really well, because the first sort of 10 minutes are all in the courtroom scene, but it didn't feel boring or stilted. There was actually important stuff being revealed, and the Master popping up. Amazingly, and this is probably the third or fourth time I've seen this. I'd completely forgotten he was in it. So he pops up on the screen and starts laughing. I thought, oh yes, the Master's in it, isn't he? I forgot about that, because I always think of the Valeyard. I always think of the scenes on the beach with the Valeyard when I think of this story. So yeah, the Master popping up was great. I think there was a lot of fun there as well, because he's apparently been watching the whole trial and just loving every minute, and he's full of relish for the fact that everything's going wrong, and it really made me smile. I just thought, oh, this is just great to think that the Master's been sat back laughing at them all, and so that was great. And then there's the reveal of the Valeyard, that he's this strange in-between incarnation of the Doctor, which is a massive reveal, but it's dealt with quite subtly. It's really, and I kept thinking, God, if that was done today, that would be fandom would be going crackers, wouldn't they? You know, it's such a big revelation, and yet I kind of like the subtlety of the way it's just revealed, and they just get on with it. It's you know, I think it's really nicely done. So yeah, loved part 1, and I thought part 2 was a good conclusion. Really, it does feel a little bit rushed. Just to very briefly go into some of the behind the scenes. So basically, you've got Eric Saywood, a script editor, who's not particularly happy at this point. Him and John Nathan Turner aren't getting on particularly well, the producer. Robert Holmes, bless him, has written part 13 and is supposed to write the conclusion, part 14. Sadly died before he could complete it. So Eric Saywood says, well, I'll finish it off, but I want it to end with the Doctor and either the Mast or the Valeyard falling into a vortex, and that will be the cliffhanger ending. J&T's like having none of it. He's like, no, we're not ending it like that. No. So they have a massive falling out. I think all the tensions that have been building came to the boil. Eric storms off. He leaves. He's had enough. So then John Nathan Turner's left with literally no time at all to try and get the final part of this trial written and wrapped up. And he's like, who can I rely on? Who's reliable that can deliver a script promptly? Phones up Pip and Jane Baker, says, I need you to write the end of this trial season, but because of legal matters, I've fallen out of Eric. I can't tell you anything about what he was going to do in the script. I can't really tell you anything about the story. So can you just kind of make it up? And I'll send you some photographs, and you just have to sort of guess the story from those. And he gave them 3 days to deliver it from start to finish. So say what you like about Pip and Jane Baker, but they delivered. Apparently, they just worked non-stop to get this done. In 3 days, they just delivered the script for part 14, the end of the trial, managed to wrap it up, I think, really well, considering all of this stuff. They didn't really get much to go on at all. So there is a lot going on behind the scenes. You've got Eric storming off. You've got Pip and Jane given 3 days to write a script and it's got to be delivered. You've got poor old Robert Holmes passing away, an absolutely classic Doctor Who writer. And I think if you watched episode 13 and 14 together like I did yesterday, I don't think you'd even guess really that they're by a different writer. I think they flow quite well together. As I said, I did prefer part 13, but I thought part 14 was a good conclusion. It felt a little rushed. Apparently they had to cut 10 minutes of footage from it, and even that they really struggled. So it should have been a 25-minute episode. John Nathan Turner had to go to the powers that be and say, look, we've cut 10 minutes from this to try and get it down in time, but I just can't cut anymore. It's got to overrun to half an hour, so you can sort of see that, there was 10 minutes from this cut. It's a shame really that they couldn't have just allowed it to be a sort of feature length episode, which they probably would do now, wouldn't they? They'd say it's the season final, it's a bit longer. So yeah, so overall I enjoyed this. I thought there was lots going on. I love all the sort of weirdness of the Matrix world. It reminded me of the Deadly Assassin a bit. I thought Colin was giving a great performance. It makes me even sadder, really, that he wasn't given another season, because he was, after this, the BBC powers that be said that the show could only come back if they cast a new Doctor. And I feel like Colin was really just starting to settle. Mm-hmm. He's got moments of charm. He's got moments of brashness. And he's really found his Doctor, and he's well on the way to becoming the Doctor that he wanted to be. His master plan of starting off tetchy and mellowing. It's all, you can see it's all going on. So, yeah. But, yeah, so I enjoyed this. So I'm glad it's a two-parter. Don't think it could have sustained all of this for 4. But as a 2-part conclusion, I thought it was good.
Cool. Yeah.
Over to you.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think. Do
you? Oh, good, because I wasn't sure what you were going to make of this.
Yeah, if it was a 4-parter, I think that it would have gone completely the other way.
Yeah,
it would have been like, this is a terrible way to finish off the thing. But I think as a 2-parter, it just provides like an interesting way of doing that. And there's not enough story otherwise.
No,
even if you take away all of the problems between J&T and falling out and Pip and Jane, even taking that stuff, even if it was all plain sailing, there still wasn't enough story at this point to fill 4 episodes. I'm glad it's a 2-parter. But overall, dude, I think this is one of the better entries in the whole 4 parts, purely because it just feels like there's more energy going on in this one.
That's right. There's a lot of energy in this story. Yes, definitely.
Defo, yeah, and it feels like with the Master popping up, that provides an extra flavour of what's happening, what's going on, and then the revelation of who the Valeyard is, and we find out exactly why he's trying to convict the Doctor, because he's after his regenerations, and he's got this kind of stuff that people have robbed over the years as well, where you've got the Valeyard, who we find out is the darker side of the Doctor, isn't he? He's like is that right to say? He's
yes,
like
I was just going to say, isn't that a great idea? Is it a little bit like the War Doctor? I kept thinking as well. It's like this hidden, the sort of version of himself that he doesn't want to acknowledge. I thought a little bit
exactly that. Yeah. So and because of that, he's like, well, I'm not going to be contained anymore by you, like the big fluffy outward hero of the day that's always off doing whatever. It's my turn now. I want your regens, sort of thing. So that's all great stuff. And then because it's 2 parts, you have to have a quicker build up, and you have to have a quicker get to the end point. So yeah, and direction was good because they've got a bit more exciting things to play with. So we've got some location shots out at the beach and stuff, and the sets are quite nice, like the old 1800s London and all that.
What's it called? The Fantasy Factory. I mean, that's great, isn't it? Creepy setting, yeah. And
it is quite creepy. There was a couple of scenes that I'll come on to, but yeah, really quite creepy for a Doctor Who story. So yeah, I quite liked this one overall, compared to the other parts. I think it's quite cool. We've got a little bit of darkness, but you're absolutely right as well with Colin as well. He's just settling into his flow as the Doctor, not just as a Doctor, but as somebody who's working with a companion as well. So we had that with Perry, didn't we, in The Mysterious Planet, where we think, yes, finally, there's all these moments where he's been a complete dick to Perry, and all this weirdness is gone, and they're finally getting on. And then we have Mel, and they're getting on, and everything's working great. And you just think to yourself, it's a bit like, it's a similar thing when we get to the end of McCoy's era. You think, they're starting to explore the darker side and the mysterious nature of the Doctor and what could have been. It's the same with Colin. It's like, what could have been if they'd have done it's just something that's terribly sort of thought-provoking throughout Doctor Who, really, because we think the same thing with Eccleston. What could have been if he'd have come back? We'd have had like a second series of Eccleston. It seems to be the way, doesn't it? But yeah, I totally agree. Colin's completely in the zone with this, and he has a lovely little speech to the High Council, and which is awesome. Gives me goosebumps.
That's brilliant, that speech. The one that was in the trailer that you just played, the mad conspirators, and I should have stayed at home. I mean, it's just delivered. It's iconic, isn't it? Yeah. It just delivers it bang on. And then watching the documentary about Colin's era, and when you see clips of him sort of in his earlier stories and then compare them to later ones, you definitely can see a progression. But I think it's a nice progression that I didn't necessarily notice it at the time, if you know what I mean. I didn't sort of think to myself that he was particularly that different. But when you go back and watch, his performance early on, and he's much more brash and snappy, and, he's still got that fire, but he's also got a real charm to his Doctor at this point. So, yeah, and you're absolutely right to compare it to McCoy. Really just sort of getting going and ready to, you could easily see him going on and doing another series after this. And the same with McCoy, especially McCoy, I think. I know what you mean. It's sad to think that this is, he goes out with the carrot juice is his last line, isn't it? But this, I don't know, when you see him and Mel going off together, I quite like the sort of nice, that relationship. I don't know. I think it could have sustained another series. I say think because there is a chance that it could have been a bit annoying if Mel just kept on, badgering the Doctor. I think that could have wore thin fairly quickly. But I do think there was another series in that Doctor companion relationship. I mean, we mentioned him a lot earlier. Big Finish have done wonders with the character of Mel. They've done some great stories together on Big Finish. So technically that has happened.
Yeah, for sure. No, I absolutely think there was at least another series left in Colin Baker, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it will depend on the scripts as well, and also the number of episodes in the series. They weren't that long, really. It wouldn't have been like a 10 story. Like, oh crikey, here we go. We're only on episode 6, and Mel's doing me head in. If it was just maybe a 6-story series or something.
They needed to tone down the screaming, that's for sure. If they did another series, because her scream is ear shattering. And I think going back to 25 minutes was the right choice. I find the 45-minute format too long. Eric Saywood disagrees. I know he really likes the 45-minute thing, but I think they're right to go back to 25 minutes.
I think so, yeah.
Because it's just enough. And I think that's the thing, actually. When I think of Colin, when I think of the Sixth Doctor, it's not one of my favourite eras of the show. And I often sort of think it's down to Colin's not getting his Doctor right. Having revisited his era, I now realise, actually, that that's not the case. I actually really have warmed towards Colin's Doctor a lot, having rewatched these. And I realise that the thing I don't really connect with in his era particularly is mostly the stories. You know, just the budget and the writing, and especially the 45-minute format just doesn't work for me personally. And a lot of the stories in this season, the Trial of Timeless season, have been very average. You know, there hasn't. The thing I like about this is it's brimming with ideas. You know, you got Mr. Popplewick, a great character, and he's using his quill pen as, you know, firing them as arrows that explode. And you know, there's great stuff going on in here. He's got a lot of ideas, comparing it to like the Vervoid story, which just felt very, run of the mill. Everything had been done. You know, it's a murder mystery. I mean, how many times has that been done before? I mean, at least this felt quite different and fresh. And I know it's the same writers, Pip and Jane Baker, that did the Vervoid one, but that's what I mean. That it feels different and better for it.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely better for it. Yeah. And it's interesting, the whole running time per episode, because there are stories with other Doctors where it's really nice to have that 45-minute run, like especially in more modern Who.
Oh yeah, it works. It definitely works in the modern era.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I think it works in the modern era.
Yeah, but I think for classic, especially when you've got 4-parters and 6-parters and stuff, if you were to have them as half-an-hour episodes or 25, then that does, you don't start to flag as much. So when you get to the half-an-hour mark and you think, okay, this is cool, and then you think, I've got 15, 20 minutes left to go, and then you do that repeat 4 times or 6 times, it does start to feel a bit like, that's why, that very common comment that people get about watching classic Doctor Who is that it's a bit of a slog with some stories. I think the 25 minutes is the way to go.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What did you think about, so they do kind of, after Perry got her rather savage exit from the show, which she wanted, which Nicola Bryant specifically said to JNT when they went for the meeting about her leaving. She said, I want to go out with a bang, which she certainly did. But then they do a bit of Clara from the Face the Ray from Hellbent, don't they? They do a bit of a Clara with this, and they kind of retcon it, and they say, "Oh, no, she didn't die. She became a warrior queen and married Brian Blessed." I mean, I just Nicola says it herself. I just don't buy that at all, and I have real mixed feelings because I kind of didn't really want Perry to, as I find her a bit annoying as a companion, but I didn't want her to have that terrible fate. But then I don't know which fate is worse, to be honest. But she would never have gone off and married Brian Blessed, would she? Perry?
Well, yeah, that is a weird one. I've got the quote here from Nicola Bryant, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, she says, "I was very happy with my original exit. That is to say, I loved the shaved head, the mind transplant, and Yukanos blowing my body to smithereens. It was dramatic, poignant, and shocking. So, of course, I hated it when they retconned, in brackets, I'm told this is the word, my exit." So she's really not a fan of what they did with her coming back. And I don't even know the reasoning behind that, dude. I don't know why they... I think it was to provide a little bit of kind of closure for the Doctor in terms of Perry. I think that's why they did that, for the Doctor's benefit.
Yeah, I was going to say, because what makes that scene work for me in a way is the Doctor's reaction. He's so relieved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, whereas, I mean, he doesn't mention Adric much, but you could Colin was so connected to Perry, I think, by this point. I think it's just the relief on the Doctor's face when he realises, she didn't die. Because I think it would have, perhaps it could have turned him the other way. Perhaps he would have gone a bit 12th Doctor Capaldi. He might have gone off the rails if he thought Perry was actually dead. There would have been an anger inside him, and he'd have gone back to strangling people again. So, to sort of, in terms of the progression of that he wanted for his Doctor, maybe it needed to happen. But yeah, I think it's a very last minute decision by JNT.
Yeah.
Because as I said, Nicola thought, was a bit miffed, I think, that they did that.
It sounds, definitely sounds like it, mate. And I kind of agree with her. From her point of view, she probably had that cool kind of exit. Because as a companion on the show, she's not thinking, in her head at the time, she's not thinking, I don't want my character to be killed because when they do like the 50th anniversary show, or when they, I want to be brought back, she's thinking at the time, this is great television, the character to go out in that way. So the fact that I'm in two minds, because like you said, it is quite nice when you see Colin's reaction to it, and that little bit of, thank God, she survived, and we have no idea what the old domestic rows are like with her and Yrcanos, but
can you imagine?
She's potentially happy and she's alive at least. So in that way, it's kind of cool. But yeah.
I think I think the thing is, I'm glad actually that Perry didn't die, but I think they should have thought of a better. But then I guess they were looking at the clips of what can we use, and the only one they could find was that sort of loving look that they give each other, and they probably thought, I know what we'll do.
Here we go.
There's a bit of a spark there. Let's utilise that. But yeah, I don't know. I just wish it had been a different. I'm glad she survived, but I don't buy the fact she would ever have gone off with Yrcanos. Yeah. I think they could have just said, yeah, it's okay. He went in, he actually saved her, and he dropped her back on Earth, and she's happily married or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I just don't buy her becoming a warrior queen. It doesn't seem. Yeah, I wonder if Big Finish have picked up on that.
Yeah,
they
I'm
must
not sure.
have done. I don't know. They must have tackled that at some point, I'm sure.
I don't know, because Perry, she's in a fair few stories for Big Finish.
She is, yeah.
So I don't know whether if there's a story that revisits her with Yrcanos or whatever. I don't think so.
They probably need a very soundproof room if they're going to get Brian Blessed in to record.
Yeah, bloody hell. Okay, yeah. Yes, indeedy. What did you think too? But actually, before we get on to a couple of important characters, so we're going to talk about the Valeyard and the Master in a second. But what did you think to the Time Lord Council stuff? Because we find out that the dudes that are in the courtroom and stuff, they're actually like the highest rank or the highest order of Time Lords, with like the whole time law stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But they still look incredibly bored. There's like no interaction, is there, between them?
I thought they'd been replaced by shop dummies. I honestly did. It was only when I saw one who got thinning hair, I thought, no, I think it's a real person. Yeah, they do look really, even for extras, they look incredibly bored.
Yeah, because you thought that they would, like, when you see clips on TV, here in the UK, when you see clips in Parliament of like the Houses of Commons or whatever, those people that are high ranking, they do a fairly good job of throwing their opinion out there. So these guys apparently are the ultimate court of appeal, and they are the supreme guardians of Gallifreyan law. But they don't say a word. They just sit there and swivel in the chairs. And that's one thing that we picked up on the previous reviews, the previous parts, that we said, those guys are just sat there. They might, as extras go, you'd be bored out of your mind, wouldn't you?
They do. They really do. The old guy with the key, though, he's loving it, isn't he? He's loving his screen time.
Oh, the keeper of the Matrix.
You won't get this key off of me. Yeah. And yet Mel gets off him within 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah, James Bree, the keeper of the Matrix.
Key.
He's, yeah, I thought he was in another episode of Doctor Who, but I was wrong at that. For some reason, I just thought he was in another story, but...
What do you think of it? Because the whole Matrix thing, it's been used a few times in different stories over the years, isn't it? Like obviously the deadly assassin and that sort of thing. But in this one, so you got this guy who's got the key, and he's adamant that no one could possibly get it off of him, even though I assume he must sleep at some point. I don't think it'd be that difficult to find that blimming key. But when they do get it, it's just that door, isn't it? Just say, I'm just popping into the Matrix. It's just that stained glass door that just conveniently is outside the courtroom. But it's very convenient. But I mean, it is good, isn't it? When they do go into the Matrix, you do get the way they come down in that beam of light into that creepy location stuff. I do love all the stuff in the Matrix.
Yeah, it's kind of cool actually.
But what did you think of the guy with the key though? He's like, you're not going to, no one could possibly get this off of me.
Yeah,
Mel trips him up.
Yeah, I think that was purposely done, that he was over-egging the pudding with that.
Over-egging it, yeah.
Yeah, because it was basically saying, look, you're saying that in all the millennia that you've looked out, protected the Matrix, no one has ever taken the key of Rassilon. So we knew, didn't we, that within the next 10 minutes, somebody was going to take it and break in and stuff. So it was kind of cool though. I like the lore around the Time Lords that they presented with this, the whole Matrix, because the fact that there is a keeper of the Matrix is very cool and stuff. But that guy James Pree, I thought I recognised him. He plays the security chief in the War Games.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
I thought I recognised
I was just going to say, didn't even the Master manage to make a copy? Isn't there a scene? Or have I imagined that? Didn't the Master say, even I've got a key?
Yeah.
Even I've got a copy of that key, just to rub it in?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the deliberate way that he's very proudly saying that no one's ever compromised the Matrix, because I've got the key around not even around his neck, it's like hanging on a little hook on his costume.
That's right. Yeah,
and then Mel gets it, and then the Master's like, yo,
I've got it.
I've got one as well. And not only that, it contradicts. So the guy's like, not only has anybody never been able to take the key from me, even if they did, they wouldn't be able to make a copy. And then, like you said, a couple of minutes later, he's like, the Master's like, well, I've made a copy. I've got one right here.
I just love all that stuff. It's brilliant.
So, yeah, the old Master and the Keeper. There were some good interactions, actually. So, in the previous parts, the majority of stuff that was going on was between the Doctor, the Valeyard, and the Inquisitor, for the most part. Just those three, really.
Yeah.
It was going between them. So it was nice to have some action going on in the courtroom rather than just pause. Right, this is what happened. No, it didn't. Okay, then resume. It was nice to have something else going on that sort of threw the story into a bit more of a just questioning what you were watching, because there was a bit of a timey-wimey scene, wasn't there? Where Mel was giving some evidence and stuff. And then she went into the Matrix, and then they did this kind of cool effect where the people in the courtroom are watching themselves in the courtroom.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the actual scene where the Doctor explains, like, that wasn't real, because I can't remember exactly what he says. He explains it very quickly. He says, that wasn't real because I knew that you wouldn't know that bit and stuff like that. And so, it was good that it threw those sort of questions at you, because when you're watching it, you were thinking something's not right.
I tell you what I like about that is I think that's down to Bonnie. That Bonnie does a really subtle change in the way she acts. I can't really explain it, but I think you know what I mean, because you sort of think, is Bonnie being odd, or is she just is her acting not very good? But it's actually, it's on purpose. It's a real subtle, she's not being robotic, but she's almost playing it like I'm not the real Mel.
Yes.
But it's very, very subtle. As I said, I wasn't even sure at first, because I'd forgotten about that whole bit. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even sure if it was like an intentional twist on her performance, or if it was just that she hadn't settled into the part yet. But no, it's Bonnie doing a very subtle difference. So you do suspect something's not quite right, but you're not too sure what. And I had honestly completely forgotten that was a whole. So when the screen zooms out from the Matrix and then back into from the courtroom back into the courtroom, I thought, oh yeah, that's right. It's all a fake thing. So I like that. And so, and I love it when she does go into the real Matrix and tells the Doctor, he's like, "Go away! I knew it wasn't real. Oh, you've ruined everything." And then everything disappears. And he falls on the floor. I thought that was really funny.
Oh, dude, I found those scenes. There was 2 scenes that I found really creepy when the Doctor goes into the Matrix. The first one was he looks around and he can see that he obviously knows that it's an illusion. It's not quite reality. He looks around and he's like, there's like, old timey London and stuff. And then there's a bit where he starts to walk or he starts to run. And then you hear this really creepy, like these children singing the London's Burning nursery rhyme. And that's really, I really like horror films, but any time that there's like little kids singing like that, it really creeps me out. So I was like, this is creepy. And then the other thing was, and I'm not sure if this was intentional to creep you out or whatever, but when Mel goes into the Matrix for the first time, she's underneath the bridge and she's calling the Doctor and stuff, but they never show her face.
Oh, it's like a silhouette.
Yeah, it's like in silhouette and shadow. And I thought to myself, why are they not showing her face? Like, is that really Mel? Is that weird? And for a second I thought, oh God, there's like, she's going to walk out into the out of shadow and she's going to be like this monster type of thing, or she's going to be someone else or a possessed person or something. That just really creeps me out that for some reason they didn't show her face underneath that bridge there, even though the Doctor seems quite confident that it's her, because he goes back to his kind of, go away and all that, he's got his plan going on. But yeah, dude, those 2 scenes, they just creeped me out big time.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a good, and I think the setting as well really helps with that, all the mist and fog and stuff. Yeah. And also there's the bit in the barrel, like when the Doctor, then you get, all that kind of stuff. Because I think once you step into the Matrix, the good thing is that, like you said, it is creepy because you never know what's going to happen. Like literally anything can happen in that world.
Oh, the hand that comes out the water in the barrel, you mean? Grabs him. Yeah, that's creepy, yeah.
That's weird. And then, of course, Glitz turns up. I think Glitz and the Doctor make a good double act as well. I think they had a bit more leverage. If they had done another series, I think, they could have done another story with them. I think they work really well together, the Doctor and Glitz. The humour, do you know what I mean? The sort of the humour between the two, they bounce off each other really well.
Yes, they do.
Don't you, Selby and Colin?
Yeah. Yes, they do. And it's we see Glitz again, don't we? And is it Dragonfire? Yeah, we see him one more time, don't we?
Yeah.
But he's consistent now. I'll give him that. Tony Selby playing Glitz. He's very. I think he's slightly different in Dragonfire, but for these ones, certainly he's very. You know what you're going to get with him.
Yeah, I like the character. I really do like the scene as well, where they get another use of the model shot, but you get these 2. They look like almost like coffins, don't they? When they arrive in the courtroom, Mel and Glitz, they arrive in those funny sort of capsules, and I like that a bit because he gets out and he's like, Dibber, what's happened to your voice, man? And obviously it's Mel, so I don't know what's happened to Dibber at that point. He's gone, but he's a good character, Glitz. I like the fact that you just never quite. He is a good guy underneath, but you also know it double cross you in a heartbeat. So it's quite good the way he flicks between helping the Doctor and working with the Master. But that whole thing works really well in this, I think. Because you can't trust Glitz, but he's fun. And it's nice, isn't it, when the Doctor says at the end, go easy on him. What does he say? He's got a good heart or something?
Something like that, yeah. He's
like, go easy on Glitz when you take him out of the Matrix. He's
got potential, I think he says.
Not all bad or something.
Like yeah, basically he's there are worse people to throw in prison.
Because I must admit, I couldn't remember after I watched this. The Master, I think, because I did think when it ended, what happened to the Master? He's still trapped in the Matrix, isn't he? When this finishes?
At the end. So, so I think the Master's still there. Yeah.
So the Time Lords are going to deal with him, because I'm trying to think when we next see him then. Survival, I suppose.
Survival, yeah.
Must be, mustn't it? He's not in it. Is he in it? Between now and Survival?
No,
must be. No. So we don't know quite what's happened to the Master, between then and now, I suppose. Well, he's turned a bit savage. He's gone a bit feral by the time we next see him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me just make sure we've got that right. The Master, does he stay in the Matrix?
Because I'm just trying to think. It's all because that's the thing. It did wrap up a little bit quick, I must admit, because the Valiards sort of defeated a little bit too easily. I think that's the only sort of niggle I've got with it. But I'm gonna put that down to the cuts that they had to make to get this in to a 30-minute episode and things like that. But yeah, he's considering he does feel almost invincible, doesn't he? The Valeyard. He does feel like this really evil, clever, and it's the Doctor against the Doctor. So you do think, God, how's the Doctor going to defeat him? Mm-hmm. And he is defeated a little easily. That's one thing I would say.
A little bit, yeah. So I think it's that closing scene. I think the Inquisitor, doesn't she say to the Keeper of the Matrix, who we only see from the back, she's like, we need to make some improvements to the security and stuff. And I think the gist is, while you're removing the Master and Glitz from the Matrix, you then need to upgrade everything and make sure everything's good.
You need some antivirus software.
And then everyone walks away, and then he turns around and it's the Valeyard again. And he just does this kind of breaking the fourth wall, looking into the camera, does this evil sort of sinister James Bond cackle.
What did you think about that as an ending? So it's all over, it's all wrapped up, and then it's kind of like, or is it? He's back.
Yeah. Do you know what? I really like it, mate. When I first watched it though, years ago, I didn't like it. I thought to myself, why would they break the fourth wall with this? It's crazy. But now that I've watched it, I think this is maybe the third time I've watched this overall over the years. I think, yeah. And now the more that I've watched it, I just think, well, everything that happens is completely nuts anyway. All the stuff that you see with remember in part 1 in The Mysterious Planet, one of the things I said that was weird is that as the people in the courtroom watch what's going on the screen, they're watching what we're watching as the viewer, as an episode of Doctor Who. So it's kind of weird, fourth wall-y, compromised anyway. It's a bit sort of random and weird. So I just think, what better way to end it all than just have the Valeyard just turn to the camera and just be like, yeah.
Still here. Still around.
Here. Yeah. Mm. So I actually quite like it, mate. Yeah.
It's good to think he's still out there somewhere, isn't it?
Cackling somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, stroking a cat probably. Coming up with a new plan. But that's interesting. It brings me on to these things I was talking about, all these lasts and finals and stuff. So obviously we know it's the final time that that Colin appeared televised as the Doctor. Also, talking of the Valeyard, it's the final appearance of the Valeyard as a recurring character, and of the Inquisitor as well. So those two, we don't see them ever again on TV. Those two
I would imagine the Inquisitor's quite pleased, because I think her headgear was getting a bit bent by the end of this story. Did you notice that over the course of this series that there's getting more and more crumpled, her headset? So it probably wouldn't have lasted another series. Yes. She's good though. I like the character of the Inquisitor. Probably didn't need to see her again after this, but she works well in keeping the Doctor and the Valeyard from throttling each other. She's a good in-between character.
Yes, she is pretty good, yeah. We have the final appearance as Perry in the cameo.
Yeah.
TV, yep. Also the last of the Master's annual appearances on the show that started way back in 1981 with the Keeper of Traken. So we wouldn't see him again until Survival, season 26.
Yeah.
The final story that Robert Holmes contributed to as long-time scriptwriter, obviously. And the last on-screen appearance of the Time Lords as a civilization for 23 years. That's the one that got me the most.
Wow.
The final time we saw them on screen.
Blimmin', I nearly swore then. Blimmin' heck. Didn't realise that.
Me too, mate. Yeah, when I saw that, when I was researching it, I was like, no, they've been on. But no, they haven't been on since.
Surely.
Because they did away with the whole, after this story, and when when McCoy's era started, they did away with the whole, let's interact with the Time Lords and all that stuff. So we don't see, and they also do away with it for a fair chunk until we get into Tennant's era as well, because in Eccleston's series, they reference all of it and they talk about the last great Time War and all that stuff. But that at that point, Russell had written it as in the Time Lords had been killed. So the whole, before each showrunner had completely obliterated all the canon and all the storylines, Russell initially wrote it that the Doctor was the last surviving Time Lord of Gallifrey. All the Time Lords had been killed anyway in the Time War. It's not until we get to the end of time, part 1, that we see the Time Lords again. So this was the last time we saw them.
Blimey, I've never really really clocked that, because I was thinking that I thought of the TV movie they're sort of mentioned, aren't they? Because they want the Master on trial and all that. But yeah, I suppose you're right in terms of actually seeing them on screen and that. Yeah, so it's quite a big thing. I don't think they've really known what to do with Gallifrey since the show returned. To be honest with you, I don't think they really know, because it gets bounced around left, right, and centre, doesn't it? Over the years since it came back in 2005, it's been blown up and brought back again and hidden away and blown up again. And I don't know, something about something about the very simplicity of it in the classic series. It's just they're pompous and they interfere and when they shouldn't, and they tell you not to interfere, but they do it themselves. You know what I mean? It's just there's something about the simplicity which I prefer. I think in the new series, I just don't think they quite know what to do.
They don't know what to do with them, mate. Yeah. No, because... go on.
No, sorry, just going to say, I mean, you look at Hellbent, and that was a real wasted opportunity. It starts off so great with the Doctor drinking soup outside the barn, and you think it's really going to kick off on Gallifrey, and then nothing happens. But that's what I mean. There's been really good moments. And it looks great in the new series. The whole Citadel and the CGI Citadel that they've managed to create in the new series looks fantastic. But yeah, I just don't think they quite know what to do with Gallifrey, and especially now. I mean, it's just left in ruins again, isn't it? Which it just seems sad, I think.
Yeah, it's weird. I was going to say they don't know what to do with them, I don't think, because when we see them at the end of time, that was all kind of cool, because we hadn't seen them for so long, so that was kind of cool. But then they got sent into the pocket, like a parallel or pocket universe, didn't they?
Yeah.
For that. And then, so that was the end of the Day of the Doctor. They ended up saving Gallifrey by putting it in Gallifrey in a pocket universe. And then they managed to somehow leave the pocket universe, and they were found billions of years into the future. That's what we get to in Hellbent. They managed to escape the pocket universe. But then, so that was one thing. And you think, oh, okay, they've kind of changed it again. What's happening with them? And then at the end of Series 12, obviously, the Master's apparently killed them all and was on his way to turning them into cyber Time Lords. But that didn't go well. So what's happening with them now? Are they going to reinvent them again? Are we going to see Gallifrey alive and kicking? It's all been a dream. Is it a reset button coming up? We have no idea. But here's another one for you. This was also the final on-screen reference to the Sontarans. And when the Doctor mentions them in his little speech.
Yeah, Sontarans, right? Yeah.
The next time we see or hear of the Sontarans won't be until the Sontaran stratagem / the Poison Sky 22 years after this.
Blimey.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just culled the lot.
They did.
That's so long, yeah.
I'll tell you another thing, and I don't want to get into the whole timeless child thing, obviously, because we'll be here all day. But regenerations get mentioned a few times in this. The whole thing, the whole crux of this plan by the Veil-Yard is to get rid of this good side of himself so he can be completely evil, but also he wants the Doctor's remaining regenerations. And it just, I think anything to do with regeneration with the Doctor now kind of feels a bit watered down because of the Timeless Child. And I know when we reviewed it, I said I didn't really have a problem with it, and I quite enjoyed the episode. But I am finding the more we watch Classic Who and see references like that, the more I am starting to go against the Timeless Child idea a little bit, because I just feel like it's quite, having this sort of limit on things brings a danger, and it just, again, it simplifies things in my head. It's like the Doctor's only got, the Veil-Yard wants his 4 remaining, it gives it substance, whereas I think if the Doctor's just got endless regenerations, it takes something away from the character, I think. So I kind of like the fact that the Veil-Yard is doing this all out of desperation to get those few remaining, regenerations for the Doctor.
Yeah.
So I just wonder how again, it's just any time Gallifrey or I'm a Time Lord or regenerations is mentioned when I'm watching Doctor Who, it's now taken on a slightly different meaning. And it's starting to irk me a little bit. I'm not going to lie, even though I didn't really have a problem with the Timeless Child when we reviewed it. I am finding I am getting a little bit irked by it the more I watch Classic Who, because it's slightly changing things. I mean, you can the good thing about Doctor Who is it can be anything you want it to be, really. So you could get round any situation to do with regeneration and all that. But I don't know, it's still starting to, I get a little pang now, when I hear things like that. So I think, oh, does it though? Anyway, I don't know. I just wondered how you felt about it.
Yeah, I think we spoke about this briefly. Was it with you I spoke to us about the other day? I can't remember, but yeah, the more that I think about it and the more that I watch classic stories and anything to do with regens, it is starting to irk me a little bit now. It's starting to just dilute all of the impact that all these stories had back
just
then.
A tad,
yeah, because there is a scene where the Master is saying that when he reveals to the courtroom who the Valeyard actually is, I think he says something along the lines of, when the Doctor gets to his final regeneration, that's when the Valeyard was created as like a darker version of himself.
Yeah, it's sort of in between the two final generations,
something like that, yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
And as soon as he said that, I thought, well, that doesn't really matter now, does it? Because we know that that's not true. The Doctor doesn't have a final. Well, that we know of anyway, a final regeneration, because the Doctor's now timeless or immortal, whatever way you want to describe it. So when he said that, yeah, I must admit it did pop into my head, well, this whole thing's, well, depending on how deep you want to go, this whole story could be considered just fairly inconsequential now, because even if the Valeyard was after the Doctor's remaining generations, we now know that Doctor doesn't have any remaining, they're just infinite.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on how far you want to go. But yeah, it does dilute the impact a little bit of the Valeyard trying to get the Doctor killed. Even though we now know that he could have done it at any point. It doesn't have to be between regenerations, that and that at his final time.
I just felt my back go up a little bit. I think it was that exact scene you just mentioned as well. Yeah. He's like, I am between the Doctor's final and I am the in-between. And I thought, oh, that's such a great idea. And I just felt my back go off a little bit thinking about the Timeless Child when he said it. But yeah, I'm not making a big deal out of it. I'm just saying it did cross my mind a little bit. And I don't know. I may have to revisit the Timeless Child at some point. I'm not ready to do it yet. I just got a feeling that my feelings may change. But anyway, I'll get off that subject now, because otherwise we could be here all day.
No, really. But in terms of the Valeyard, another great performance from Michael Jaston. Very, very cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Really, really good. He's very good as the Valeyard. Yeah.
Even without his hat on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I like the beach scenes. I felt sorry for Colin when he's being dragged under all that sand. I was thinking, God, I bet that was horrible, really uncomfortable. He says he loved it. I was amazed. I was watching the making of, and he was saying how much he enjoyed all that. I was absolutely fine, because the whole time I was watching it, I thought, oh, I bet that was horrible. Like, because it looks like it's going to go in his mouth, and he had to do it 2 or 3 times, to get the take right. And there's a bit where they reverse the film, and he has to come up and say the line backwards. Yeah, I just thought, God, I bet it was a nightmare. But no, Colin loved it, apparently. He loved getting down in the dirt, he says.
Well, that down and dirty. Yeah, well, that's what we were saying earlier on, wasn't it? He's just getting into his stride as the Doctor and doing all this stuff. And then, anyways, yeah, so I've been to that beach as well a couple of times, Canberra Sands.
Have you? I don't think I've been there. No, I've heard of it. I know of it.
It's really recognisable. It's like all of this kind of light-coloured sand with grass growing through it. Yeah.
I wonder if the TARDIS hut's still there, because that was a real beach shed. Well, it's a shed, isn't it? Hut.
It's not there anymore, no.
Oh, no. That's a shame. I would have gone up to that, because technically it's a TARDIS, isn't it?
Technically, yeah.
I do love it when we see inside the Master's TARDIS. I know it's the Doctor's painted black, but it's something about it, isn't there?
Dude, that was going to be in my notes to mention in a little while. But dude, the matte black finish on the Master's.
I know.
I love it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I'd have that, mate.
I do. I love it as well. And there's a bit where him and Glitz go into the next room, and he just shuts the Doctor in the console. And then suddenly he's like, he turns on a disco ball. I don't know what he's doing to the Doctor, but Colin's going,
sensory overload.
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
That was cool, actually, that bit.
Yeah.
But the Master's interior, mate, crikey Moses. That's when I watched it again last night. I was like, oh, that looks wicked.
I just always love it when we go inside. I think Planet of Fire, we see it briefly, maybe. I don't know. It's not in it a lot, but it's always a treat, isn't it?
Yes.
When you get to go inside this tight. I'm talking about, I know we see it a lot in the Pertwee area, but I mean, there's just something about Ainley's, like you said, the black matte finish. He's nicked the Doctor's brand new console design somehow. We don't know how. And just painted it black. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Lastly, then, just quickly, Geoffrey Hughes then as Popplewick, which
Onslow
from Keeping Up Appearances. Yeah, it's I think isn't he the Valeyard though? Don't we find out that he is? Or have I got that wrong?
Yes. Yeah. No, he is. I think that's done really well, actually. The mask is great, isn't it?
Yes.
Like when Michael Jason has to wear the mask of Popplewick. What a great character, though, Popplewick is. And Geoffrey Hughes is brilliant, I think. He's absolutely perfect. He really suits the sideburns for a start. But yeah, perfect casting, great character. And a great reveal as well. It's the Valeyard all the time. He was the Valeyard all the time.
The whole time. Yeah.
He's great. I love the character, and I think Geoffrey Hughes is really good in that part.
Yeah,
I thought he was in it more. I must admit, when I was watching it again yesterday, I always thought he was in it more. But I do like the scene where there's two of him as well. Like they go out of one room and is it his twin brother or something? I don't know. There's like two Popplewicks, isn't there? One in the office. You can't go in there, and then they go in and he's in there.
Yeah,
with slightly bigger sideburns.
That's right. Yeah, and I think one of them's got glasses on the whole time. The other one doesn't.
That's right. Yeah, very subtle differences. But yeah, he's great, isn't he?
Yeah, very cool character. Well written as well. I was thinking, who's this guy then? Oh, he's like a weird character in the Matrix. And they go through the room, like you said, and he's in there again. I'm like, this is just messing with the Doctor.
Yeah, just to mess with him even more.
Yes. I think that's all I've got to talk about, really. I mean, overall, it's just, a cracking end, I thought, to this story. I know a lot of people don't like it, and it's disappointed and stuff. But I think there could have been a lot worse ways to finish off the story as a whole. I think it's a pretty fitting end, I would say.
Yeah, I think actually you summed up what I like about it in terms of the energy. This two-parter has energy from everybody in it. Bonnie as Mel, she's really going for it. Collins just seems to be absolutely loving it. Michael Jason, everybody, Popplewick, characters, ideas. It's full of energy and ideas. And as I said, I think it's right that it's a two-parter. I know they cut 10 minutes. I kind of wish they'd left the second part as a bit of a sort of epic conclusion. But yeah, it's a good two-parter. I don't really have a lot more to say. I mean, the only other notes I've made is that the Doctor mentions his age, which seems to be popping up in a lot of stories I've watched recently, totally contradicting himself all the time. So he's 900 plus years old in this, Colin says. And yet in Time of the Rani, the next story, he's 953, I think. So
I think
he's aged 53 years and Mal hasn't aged at all.
I think he doesn't say explicitly he's 900. I think he just says he's over 900 years old.
That's right. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Gets away with it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Just having a look at my notes. Was there anything else?
Music was not too bad. Dominic.
Oh, actually, I liked the music in this. Yeah. It's more subtle than it has been in other stories.
Yeah.
I don't know who did the music. Is it Dominic Glenn?
Dominic Glenn,
yeah. I liked the music in this. Much more sparse. It was good. Have a look at my notes. Anything else? No, I think we pretty much covered it, to be honest. Oh, I put how did Mel get out of the Matrix? There was that's probably down to things being cut out and timing, but they seem to be able to get in and out of the Matrix very easily, and I wasn't quite sure how that was happening. Because, again, I think that's probably stuff that was cut due to timings.
Yeah, so. There's not enough time. As I was saying, it's a two-parter, but I think it's just leads you the imagination how they do that.
It was well directed as well. I think Chris Clough did a good job directing it, and I am going to say all credit to Pip and Jane for stepping in. You can say what you like about those guys, but they were, I think J&T says it, reliable.
Yeah, and dude, what in order to, it's one thing being handed this task late in the day, like guys, he's walked out. I need you to step in and save the day. That's one thing. But then also to be told, and also, I can't tell you anything about what he wrote. So
for legal reasons, you can't know anything.
Yeah, so all you've got is the rough outline of what's happened so far, but I can't tell you any details for anything, so you just got to come up with it. I mean, come on, that's pretty good going.
When you watch that, the making of, mate, so I just love the couples. You can see that they are so contrast. Jane is very strong, a very strong character, and Pip, bless him, just lets her, he just is very quiet. And you can see that when she's telling a story, if you watch carefully, he's actually saying under his breath the words with her. It's really, they are such a sweet couple. I love them. So hats off to Pip and Jane for stepping in and saving the end of the trial. I think they did a very good job. Yeah.
I agree. Right, scores, dude. Is it me to go first?
Yes,
I think it might be. Yeah. So I'm going to give this a 7.
Yeah, we're more in line this week. I've given it a 7.5. It's good. I really enjoyed it. It's not. I think when I go to an 8, it's a story that I think is really, once I start going past an 8, anything past an 8 is something very good. Right. And I enjoyed this, but it's not quite up there as an 8. But it's definitely my favourite from this series so far.
Yeah.
From the Trial of Time Lord series, it's my favourite story. So yeah, I really did enjoy it. 7.5. It's still not great, but it was good.
Cool. And if you had to rate the Trial of a Time Lord overall, what would you give that?
I suppose I'm going to give it a 7 because I think most of my scores, apart from Vervoids, I think was my lowest scored story in this. They've all been around a sort of 6 or 7, haven't they? My scores. So I suppose I'm going to give it that. It's between a 6.5 and a 7 for me. It's a very sort of hit and miss season. Okay. I think they got some stuff really right, and I think other bits just fell completely flat. But I'll give it a 7 overall this series.
Okay. I'd probably give it a 6 overall. Yeah. I think it's good that they try to do. I mean, you can't fault them for that. They try to do some other bits and try to make it something different to what we've seen before and stuff. It's just really sad how Colin was treated and binned off and all that, and it must have just been. My hat does go off to all of the guys that were making the show at the time, because the writing was on the wall at this point.
It was.
Michael Grade had already tried to can the show at least once at this point, and they battled on. And when you're up against it like that, when you know that the people at the BBC just don't want you making the show anymore, they don't want it, but you keep going and stuff. So yeah, hats off to everybody that was still just cracking on and trying to make it as good as it can be. So
there's another guy on the making of, I can't remember his name, because Michael Grade's always, he was sort of the main villain when it comes to the cancellation of Doctor Who. But there is another guy who doesn't often get mentioned, and he's on the making of, and he's quite candid about the fact that he just wanted rid of the show. Can't remember his name. But yeah, when you watch the making of on this, it does make, you got these two guys that are just determined to get this off the screen. And so to battle on, with JNT and everyone to battle on to keep it going, it is quite incredible, actually. And I'm glad they did. Despite its faults, I'm certainly glad that Trial made it to screen, unlike the cancelled season. It's it's got some enjoyable stuff in there.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Just a quick quiz. There's only 2. So the Doctor, in the last story, the Inquisitor had railed him in a bit, so he was calling the Valeyard to Valeyard. But in this one, he does manage to get 2 little abbreviations on the Valeyard's name. I just wondered if you could name them.
Oh no, I got the Railyard one. That was quite cool.
You got the Railyard. That's one. And there's one other he gets in there.
No, what is it?
Stackyard.
Oh, Stackyard.
Yeah. So Railyard, Stackyard. What other ones have we had over the Brickyard, Graveyard, Farmyard, Scrapyard, and Knackers Yard?
Knackers Yard's the best one, isn't it?
That's the best one. Yeah.
Brilliant. See, this was Colin at some of his best.
Yeah,
really was.
It's fun, isn't it? Yeah.
So there we go then. Wrapping up Trial of a Time Lord, the Ultimate Foe. 7.5 from him, 7 from me. We had some audio clips in as always. Let's kick off. This is Birthday Girl. Sammy from Down Under.
G'day, Gary and Adam. Sammy Satine here. So, the Ultimate Foe. The Master copies the key of Rassilon and goes into the Matrix. Summons Mel and Glitz, then drops a bombshell. The Valeyard is the Doctor. Dun 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 dun. somewhere between his 12th and final incarnation, a concept not explored since or brought up, not to mention also apparently a construct of the Celestial Intervention Agency. I do wish the show would explore the Valeyard, and a rare glimpse into the Master's TARDIS. How marvellous! I like it. Short. Pretty well paced. I do like that Perry didn't die, though I'm not sure how she feels about having to put up with all that shouting. I give it 7 keys of Rassilon out of 10. Stay safe, wash your hands, see ya.
Brilliant.
7.
Cheers, Sammy.
Not sure about all that shouting. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, bless it, yeah. Thank you very much, Sammy. 7.
Is the dinner ready? You Carlos needs his food.
Oh, you Carlos.
Oh, no. God, they would be... Oh, the nightmare couple. Should we have Perry and Carlos round for dinner? No, oh, they're here.
I have to say it wasn't that bad with the doctor. Oh, Doctor, you Carlos. Well, Doctor. Oh, dear. Right, moving on. Ian from France. Ian Stevens.
Hi. Ian from France here with my review of The Ultimate Foe. Not many two-parters in Classic Who, and this one is a little oddity, and no mistake, with plenty of ups and downs. Let's start with the positives. Michael Jaston is ripping it up. Once his true identity is revealed, he goes from controlled authoritarian to crazed pantomime villain quicker than you can say, "It's behind you." He's clearly having a whale of a time, and he's just great. The plot itself is neat and pretty damn original, and ties everything up quite effectively. At 2 parts, it in no way outstays its welcome. And the appearance of the Master is always a treat, and was a nice surprise, as I'd actually forgotten about his inclusion. Then the negatives come. In places, the performances are bordering on amateurish, even from Colin, who at times barely even seems to know his lines. It clearly needed another few rehearsals before the camera started rolling. That god-awful brief scene involving Perry and Yukanos was vomit-inducing and undid the impact of the loss of her as a companion, and the very idea that she would go off with someone like him is frankly ridiculous. Varunic, sod off. And lastly, Mel. Poor Mel. Sorry, I just can't stand this character. Though Bonnie Langford is trying her level best, but she's just so out of place, I can't forgive it. So, hardly a triumphant end to the opus, but it could have been a lot worse. 6 corrupt Time Lords out of 10. Alors, ça suffit. Je partis. À bientôt, mes amis. Et la prochaine fois, regardez simplement la Matrix à la place. And next time, just watch the Matrix instead.
Just watch the Matrix.
Vomiting, juicing, brilliant.
Yeah, Ian, not a fan of the old Perry coming back. Retcon.
No.
Oh, dear. Thank you very much, as always, Ian. Very entertaining, dude. George Puddy is up next.
So, yes, The Ultimate Foe, the finale to A Trial of a Time Lord. Now, I haven't sent an audio clip in since The Mysterious Planet, so to recap, I didn't really like The Mysterious Planet that much. Mind Warp, I know a lot of people like it. I really couldn't stand Mind Warp. One of my least favourite Colin Baker stories, to be honest, and that's kind of saying something. But contrary to you guys' review, I really like Terror of the Vervoids. It wasn't perfect, but I just found that a very fun murder mystery in space, and I really like the chemistry between Colin Baker and Bonnie Langford as Mel. So now on to The Ultimate Foe, and for me it's my favourite out of the season. It's a very new series in its approach. It's quite a good finale to the series. Unfortunately, not everything is explained, and Mind Warp is left annoyingly ambiguous as to whether, like, what was the Doctor doing in that story. Not really explained, which is annoying because that really frustrated me in Mind Warp. But I really like the Matrix style fight, and I think that's pretty engaging. The locations are interesting, and I like the return of characters like Glitz. They're fun, and I really like the revelations about the Valeyard. I think they're quite dark and really quite interesting. Colin Baker gives his finest performance as the Doctor here, in my opinion. He's really good. The story is kind of a fitting, if abrupt, ending for the 6th Doctor. Obviously, it's not going to be a fitting finale for him, but as this was the last story, I think it could have been a lot worse, in my opinion. My only real criticism is that the Master feels quite tacked on and his scenes feel quite out of place. But overall, this is my favourite of the season, and this is quite underrated in my opinion. I'll give The Ultimate Foe 8 out of 10.
An 8?
An 8, eh?
Yeah.
An 8A. Okay, the Master feels tacked on. Interesting.
I mean, it wouldn't... I love him in it just because Anthony Ainley seems to be having an absolute whale of a time. I'm glad he's in it, but I will admit, if he wasn't in it, it wouldn't really make any difference because you've got the Vale Yard. So I do get what George is saying, but I do love the fact he's in it. I think it just adds an extra element of fun.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. Yeah. Okay, moving on. This is Seb Lane.
Hello, Gary and Adam. I hope you're all well. The Ultimate Foe. It's a bit of a weird one, really, because it's not too much to judge it on. It's only a short 2-parter. I did like the cliffhanger to part 1, actually. It's a very wacky cliffhanger. You can tell that Colin Baker's doing most of the work. It's like a man who wants to be buried in the sand by his kids, but he has no kids, so you can sort of see him shuffling there. That's quite funny. I liked Glitz in it. He's one of my favourite. Well, would you call him a companion? I'm not too sure, but friends, I suppose. Yeah, he was good. Colin Baker, you can tell at this point he's a little tired in his run, but I don't know. I think it's enjoyable. It's nothing special, but it was fun nonetheless to watch. So I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Bye for now.
7.
Nothing special.
Nothing special. Yeah.
Cheers, Seb.
No, cheers for your thoughts there, Seb. Moving on, this is Martin Arnold.
Carrot juice. Your final words on the TV, at least, as Doctor Who, are carrot juice. Oh my, what a way to go. It's sad, really. Colin's era comes to a rather unfortunate end. But what an era it's been. I think he's got some very strong stories, and the Trial of the Time Lord is very ambitious and unique for perhaps all the wrong reasons. And I think this sort of return to the Deadly Assassin, written with help. Robert Holmes was, at his last days doing this one, which I think, kind of shows it's not his best, but it's actually quite good. I mean, there's a lot of sort of kind of dark stuff going on. The sort of trickery and the Matrix stuff is a little spooky, and it's got an atmosphere to it. And I think if it had been more than 2 episodes, it wouldn't have worked. So it ends it nicely. We learn that Perry hasn't been mind warped, but is she better off with Brian Blessed? Who knows? Perry's alive! I give it a 7 out of 10. I think this is a flawed classic, and it deserves respect. Thank you.
Perry's alive. He's absolutely right.
Perry's alive. A flawed classic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
7.
agree with that.
And lastly, this is Blair Donnelly.
Hi guys, Blair from Ontario, Canada. I was looking forward to the final story of this arc. I pop in the DVD, only to find 2 episodes. 2! After investing all my time in this season-long arc, they wrap it up with a 2-parter. I wish they made this into a 4-parter. I think they could have had the Doctor and the Master work together for a couple episodes. A missed opportunity. It was nice to see Glitz back. I like the idea of the Vale being the Doctor's dark side, but feel 2 episodes wasn't enough to flush it out once revealed. Overall, I still enjoyed the episode, but it's hard to score. Because I have a soft spot for the Trial of the Time Lord, and because I know it will be the last ever episode for Colin, I will score it a 7.5. I wish Colin had a better exit and a proper regeneration scene. I guess I'll have to listen to the big finished story that deals with this. Thanks guys for getting through this. I know it may not have been highly scored by you, but it was certainly fun listening to your reviews.
7.5.
Same as me.
Same as you, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, do listen to that big finish. But what's it called?
The last.
Oh, why can I never
something?
remember anything?
The last something.
I'm gonna quickly find it while but it is a great. Big Finish did a great send off for Colin. 6 Doctor Adventures.
Isn't it a 6-parter?
The Last Adventure. There you go.
Adventure, yeah.
Yeah, do go and check that out. It's a really nice send off, and it's got the Vale Yard in it and everything. It's a really good send off for Colin's Doctor.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. That Big Finish story is really, really good.
Jaeger and Lightfoot are in it, I think. Yes.
Very well written. Yeah. Yeah, so there we go. That brings us to an end of, well, the end of May and the end of our Trial of a Time Lord month. I think it's been a good month, dude, to do all these together.
It really has, actually. And I know, we've struggled with some of the stories, but I have really enjoyed revisiting this season because it isn't one I go back to very often. And it's given me a new appreciation for Colin's Doctor. He's one that I struggled with as a kid. When this first was shown, I didn't really warm to Colin's Doctor. I love him on Big Finish, but I've definitely got a bit of a more appreciation for old Sixie from his TV stories. So yeah, even though it's been a bit of a rough ride at times, I have enjoyed rewatching it.
Yes, no, I agree. Yes. Let's rattle through a few social tweets that we had through over on Twitter. Jordan Shortman, one of our writers, says, given the issues behind the scenes, it's a miracle the story was even completed. Yeah. As it stands, The Ultimate Foe is okay. Glad it's only 2 parts, but the cast do a good job, even if the script doesn't make a lot of sense. If anything, it's a shame that this is Colin's last story. The Universe of Who says, I'm not a fan of the Trial of a Time Lord saga, but this is my favourite of the lot. That's not to say I love it, it's decent. The central idea is amazing, and the Valeyard is an intriguing idea. However, the ending with Mel and Six just leaving doesn't make sense. 6 out of 10.
Yep.
Rick Moran from the Dwas says, I loved it. This really did feel like a game changer. The appearance of the Master comes as a big surprise, but it's more true identity of the Valeyard and the possibilities that surrounding that appeal. At the time, the concept of a Doctor so far in the future must have felt a lifetime away, whereas now it's a reality. I know it's right at the end for him, but I've always considered this to be Colin's definitive performance. He is outstanding here. He says his speech in the courtroom is his finest moment. Respectful ending, 8 out of 10.
Was there, Rick, you'll know, was there much reaction to this? Because it is a big reveal. And I know we didn't have things like Twitter and Facebook and stuff back in when this went out, but I would have been quite young. I don't remember there being much of a reaction to this revelation of the Valeyard, but do tell me if there was, Rick, because I probably would have been a bit young at the time anyway, but tell me what the reaction was from fandom at the time. Was there a big shock?
It was,
what was it?
I think you mentioned it in the review, buddy, that it's kind of weird that that's the time we were living in. That back in that time, that's when things just used to happen.
Yeah,
Nowadays, if the Master was coming back, there'd be like an announcement at midnight from the BBC about it, and then there'd be a big build-up and all that stuff. But back in the day, it was just, bosh, there was your surprise.
Yeah, sure. I just wondered, because I don't remember there being much of a fanfare about it at all.
Thank you very much, Rick. Moving on, Caitlin Dalek 100 says, my favourite part of the Trial series, and it pretty much does it justice. The Valeyard is a true highlight, and it's so cool to see Anthony Ainley there too. Time Lords are a tad useless, and it can be a tad messy in places, but one of my fave Colin stories, 8.5.
Okie dokie.
Joe on Twitter says, mad bonkers fun, just some of the words to describe The Ultimate Foe. I really like the story, and I think the fact that it's a short one really works in its favour. The concept is very good, but you can see the budget for the set wasn't all there. 8.5. Excuse me. Edward Giluli says, I know there were major issues with writing, but it's still an absolute dog's dinner. Completely rubbish. The trial format was an interesting idea, but that didn't quite work, and this was not a good way to end the series that was trying not to be cancelled. A 3.5.
So I'm just laughing because I just love the phrase dog's dinner. It always makes me laugh. What a dog's dinner.
A train wreck of a story, eh? Edward, give it a 3.5. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Max Cat 36 says, I love this finale of an amazing series. Colin is amazing. The Valeyard disguising himself as the old man I've forgotten the name of was somewhat predictable, though I did have an issue, and this was the first time the Doctor actually saw Liz.
Liz?
Maybe Mel, you mean.
Oh, right.
Yeah. TF Production 17 says, this has to be my favourite from the Trial series. Given the issues behind the scenes, this one could have been a lot worse. Brilliant direction, the Doctor and the Valeyard are fantastic together. The only downside is the ending. Blimmin' carrot juice, 8 out of 10. John Griffiths, like this one, very timey-wimey. People pop in and out of time streams they work with or rescue people they haven't met yet, and plans are foiled by plans made to foil other plans. Nice Valeyard reveal at the end, 7 out of 10 for this one, and a 5 out of 10 overall. Cheers, gentlemen.
Okay.
Cheers, John. Davros says, better than the last 2 installments, but not really anything above average. The conclusion is predictable, the plot pedestrian, and the whole season really was not as strong as it could and should have been, in my humble opinion. Disappointing, a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Ryan McGiven, good buddy Ryan, says,
hello, Ryan.
Really liked The Ultimate Foe, felt like a game changer with the reveal and how they used the Matrix. The ending was a great cliffhanger that sadly was never properly resolved. Would have loved to have seen Michael Jason return on screen again, a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Morgan McCandless, our good buddy Morgan, says,
hello, Morgan.
It's okay, but feels like a rushed conclusion to the saga with too many loose ends. Having the Master back was great, and the Valeyard's Fantasy Factory felt really eerie and atmospheric. The cliffhanger to part 1 was excellent too. Hands down, Colin's best performance, a 6 out of 10.
Okay, cheers, Morgs.
Dan Pinn says, I quite like this one. I think episode 1 is the strongest of the 2. Yet again, some brilliant visuals. Scenes in the Fantasy Factory and those on the Canberra Sands were beautiful. Another great performance from Colin. Would have loved to see more of old Sixie like this. Great to see Glitz back. Jeffrey Hughes as Popperwick is fantastic. The trial team are on top form again. You feel that they have really carried the season. I wonder how shocking the reveal of the Valeyard's identity was first time round.
Yeah.
Gave it a 7.
I was there, but I can't remember.
It would have been a talking point for sure, wouldn't it?
I would have thought so, yeah.
And lastly, the guys over on the Lost on Gallifrey podcast. It says, great ideas such as the Valeyard twist, and Colin gets a great speech, but the story is non-existent, a virtual run around with the entire season suffocating under its mad pot of ideas. Saying that, I do admire this season for doing something different. Overall, 6 out of 10, case closed.
Fair enough.
And we had a few over on Facebook, so very quickly, Charlie Turner gave it a 9.5 out of 10 for Michael Jason's performance. The Valeyard in the story as a whole, the story is pretty good, so that gets a strong 8 out of 10. Rob Doyle says, absolutely bonkers, makes no sense, but I loved it. Colin's speech about the corruption of the Time Lords is wonderful. Great to see the Master back, and love the way he just tells everyone what's happening rather than filming 2 more episodes, which would have been boring. So he gave the story 8 out of 10. Overall, season 23, a 6.5. Joseph Howarth, this was a mess of a story. Didn't make any sense. Nothing that was really established was resolved. It had promise, but ultimately was a confusing wreck. 4 out of 10. Daniel Hickey, well, it went from a total different way than I thought. This is my first time seeing a classic Master. So looking forward to more. Glad this was 2 episode. 4 would have dragged. 7.5 for the story and a 6.5 for the series as a whole.
Okay.
And lastly, David Carlin says, so here's the end of the Trail of a Time Lord, and I have mixed feelings about it. Mel as a companion is just a no for me, and all the confusing moments probably makes it my least favourite of all 4 stories. If only there were more collaboration between all the story writers and editors to make it a more coherent story. He goes on to give it a 5 out of 10 for this, and 7 out of 10 overall for the series.
Overall. Okay.
Those comments, there were more written, by the way, but they were quite long. So if you want to check those out, just head over to our Facebook page. And that's going to do it, bud, for Trial of a Time Lord and everything. Next week, what we're on to?
Yeah, so next week we're back to our usual schedule of Torchwood, Who, Sarah Jane, Classic New Who and all that. So we'll be kicking off with Torchwood, the episode Sleeper. So this is what's this, second episode of Series 2, right?
Yeah, we're in Series 2 now, mate.
Yeah, we're in Series 2 now, yeah. So Sleeper.
So what was before this? It was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, wasn't it? That kicked off Series 2. So
we liked that one, didn't we?
Yeah, not too bad, that one. Yes. So all of the Torchwood Hub crew, looks like they're back for this one. I can't remember if I've seen this one or not. I think I have, but I can't remember.
Can't remember a thing about it, to be honest.
Yes. So next week we'll be reviewing Sleeper. And I think we'll wrap there, dude, for 269.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much for sticking with us and listening to episode 269. We had some cracking Big Finish news earlier on. Can't wait for the 4th and 10th Doctor crossover story, Out of Time. That's going to be awesome, I think. And the other news about the Master stories as well. Eric Roberts coming back, plus the the other multi-master story. All sounds like really cool stuff. So I'll put a link in the show notes to go to the Big Finish site for that. So that's definitely a pre-order, that stuff, for sure. Next week is back to Torchwood, as Adam said. We're going to be reviewing Sleeper, which is episode 2 of series 2. So get your DVDs or Blu-rays out for that, because we'll be asking for your thoughts as always. Thank you so much to all of you that have sent in your reviews and stuff for this week for The Ultimate Foe, and also all of this month where we've gone through the Trial of a Time Lord. Bit apprehensive at first. Adam and I have spoken many times about how we're going to do it, but now we've done it, it feels great. It was really good to go through all of that and revisit that stuff. So thank you so much for sticking with us for that. In the meantime, until next week for episode 270, head over to the website bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous shows on there, and you can link off to the various podcast apps and networks so that you can subscribe to the show when you don't miss it, when it lands every single Friday. And if you have a minute or two to leave us a rating or a review, that would be awesome, because that helps us out loads and loads. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Links on the website, or just do a search for us. We chat and waffle about Doctor Who and all things Doctor Who throughout the week. So it'd be great to have you over on there. And we've also got a free Discord server. The link's on the website. Come and hang out and chat Doctor Who over there too. Lots of very cool people over there, and lots of our listeners there as well. So it's great just to waffle about Who stuff over there. Also check out my co-host channel over on YouTube, The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag, yes, lots of vids, and I'm on all the socials.
On the socials too, yeah, under the same name.
Socials.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a link on our website to Adam's channel. Go and check it out. Grab a cup of tea. Years worth of very cool Geeks videos over there. Go and get stuck in. And yeah, as Adam says, on the socials as well. We all chat Doctor Who over there, so come and get involved. Rightio, buddy. Until next week for 270. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, Allons-y.